Leaders, 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 this message is specifically for you. We're going to hop into Proverbs 14 today. Thank you for following along. And as usual, and kind of sitting with the passage this morning, asking the Lord what it was He wanted to highlight. I've got the impression that through a number of these scriptures that the Lord really had a message for leaders. So let's hop in and we'll dive deep into some of the specific things that He pulled out. I certainly would love to hear what stood out to you. So please drop it in the comments. And I'd love to start a dialogue with you and help you and for you to help me have these messages really get planted deep into our hearts and our spirit. So let's hop in. Again, I'm in New King James. Chapter 14 of Proverbs begins with, "The wise woman builds her house, but the foolish pulls it down with her hands. He who walks in his uprightness fears the Lord, but for he who is perverse in his ways despises him. In the mouth of a fool is a rod of pride, but the lips of the wise will preserve them. Where no oxen are, the trough is clean, but much increase comes by the strength of an ox. A faithful witness does not lie, but a false witness will utter lies. A scoffer seeks wisdom, but does not find it, but knowledge is easy to him who understands. Go from the presence of a foolish man when you do not perceive in him the lips of knowledge. The wisdom of the prudent is to understand his way, but the folly of fools is deceit. Fools mock at sin, but among the upright there is favor. The heart knows its own bitterness, and a stranger does not share its joy." Verse 11, "The house of the wicked will be overthrown, but the tent of the upright will flourish. There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death. Even in laughter the heart may sorrow, and the end of mirth may be grief. The backslider in heart will be filled with his own ways, but a good man will be satisfied from above." Verse 15, "The simple believes every word, but the prudent considers well his steps. A wise man fears and departs from evil, but a fool rages and is self-confident. A quick-tempered man acts foolishly, and a man of wicked intentions is hated. The simple inherit folly, but the prudent are crowned with knowledge. The evil will bow before the good, and the wicked at the gates of the righteous. The poor man is hated by his own neighbor, but the rich has many friends. He who despises his neighbor sins, but he who has mercy on the poor, happy is he. Do they not go astray who devise evil, but mercy and truth belong to those who devise good." Verse 23, "In all labor there is profit, but idle chatter leads only to poverty. The crown of the wise is their riches, but the foolishness of fools is folly. A true witness delivers souls, but a deceitful witness speaks lies. In the fear of the Lord there is strong confidence, and his children will have a place of refuge. The fear of the Lord is a fountain of life, but to turn one away from the snares of death. In the multitude of people is a king's honor, but in the lack of people is the downfall of a prince. He who is slow to wrath has great understanding, but he who is impulsive exalts folly." Verse 30, "A sound heart is life to the body, but envy is rottenness to the bones. He who oppresses the poor reproaches his maker, but he who honors him has mercy on the needy. The wicked is banished in his wickedness, but the righteous has a refuge in his death. Wisdom rests at the heart of him who has understanding, but what is in the heart of fools is made known. Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. The king's favor is toward a wise servant, but his wrath is against him who causes shame." So I just love the word. I think that God, he knows all, right? He's outside of time. He was before time. He knows all the things. And so what I love about reading the word is that every time you read it, you could read the same passage 50 times and you hear something different every time. Or in different seasons of your life, the Lord illuminates another truth So there's usually multiple meanings, I believe, this is my own personal opinion, multiple meanings in the word that he gives us. And so just as I was reading through this a couple of times, I just felt the call to leaders. So we've talked about in previous chapters how when the righteous rule, the people rejoice. And I think we're in a season in the day and age, we're in the end times. There's lots of corruption that's happening. We see it on the news all the time. We have this passage talks about nations. Nations really is not what we consider nation with borders necessarily, but it's a group of people. A people group. Nations are falling underneath corrupt leadership. You have corporations that we see where the leaders have embezzled, or they're having affairs, or they're doing some backroom deals that create a lot of issues for people. There's a lot of laundering and all kinds of wickedness in places of leadership, even in the church. And in our families, right? So I think the Lord wants to highlight that. One, we're all called to lead. Every single person, we are made in the image and likeness of God. And so that means we are like him in our nature. And if it wasn't for the fall, we would be even closer to that. But Jesus sort of gave us back our right standing if we have accepted him. But God created us to lead, to have dominion, to have rulership over places. And some of our spheres of influence are really small. Some of our spheres of influence are very large, but we are all called to lead wherever it is that he has planted. It doesn't mean you'll have a title or a specific position, but in the spiritual atmosphere, we bring the kingdom of God wherever we go. We bring the righteousness of God wherever we go. We have the ability, if we know who we are and we are confident in our identity, and we operate in the authority that we've been given, we have the ability to shift situations when we go in, even if we don't have the quote unquote title or role that gives us that natural authority. We have spiritual authority in places. And so just in reading some of this, the Lord just kind of highlighted some things that if you are a leader, you need to take into consideration. A leader of a family, a leader of a small organization, a leader of your neighborhood watch, whatever it is, large or small, it's important. And we have some principles that we need to follow. So the first verse that stood out to me, and this is a Bible I've had for a long time. So verse 1 was highlighted to me, I think, in the previous season. It talks about a woman building her house, about building her family, quote unquote. But women are industrious, so we have companies and things like that we're building as well. But I do believe it's not just about women, it's about builders. So when you are a builder, when you are building something, whatever that thing is, you build the house. So if you build a house, you have tools, you have materials, you have the right people around that are putting things together, because you're not necessarily just doing it by yourself. But the foolish pull it down with your own hands. So how many of you have been in environments where some of the decisions that are made around you really are what you would call pulling the house down? They have been disingenuous promises or practices that have been put in place that really are detrimental to customers or employees. In your home, maybe you've made poor financial decisions, and so it has been a detriment to your family. If you are a builder, you need to be building with intention and with wisdom, and not pull it down with your hands. So I think that that's a good principle for us all to take heed of. Whatever we're building, make sure that we're not the cause of the downfall. In verse 4, is another one. And I'm just going to skip around. There's a lot of passages, but these are the ones that were immediately highlighted to me. You probably will have others, and I'd love to know what those are. But verse 4, where no oxen are, the trough is clean, but much increase comes by the strength of an ox. Sometimes you just don't want to deal with people and their junk. I get it. I am more of an introvert, though people won't believe that. And when you are around and you're having to build, or you are in teams, if you've ever been a team of some kind, it can be messy. There are emotions and feelings and attitudes. And sometimes you're just like, I don't want to deal with any of that. I just need to do it by myself. What the Lord is showing us here is where there's no oxen, where there are no laborers, right? Because oxen help you with labor. Where there's no oxen, the trough is clean, meaning you're not feeding anyone. There's no mess. It's clean. You don't have to clean up poop. You don't have to clean up food. And a trough is the same as a manger, the feeding area for these oxen. It's perfectly clean because there's nothing there to feed. However, by keeping the trough clean, you are limiting the ability to really grow and stretch and have more productivity. And so it says much increase comes by the strength of an ox. So each ox brings some, takes away some labor intensive work from the person that owns the ox. So yes, there's stuff to clean up. Yes, there's arguments to try to settle. Yes, there are disagreements and conflict. However, but the collective progress of whatever it is that you're building will build much faster, will build much stronger with more people. And so it just comes with the territory. There will always be mess. So if you are starting a business, if you are starting a church, if you are starting a neighborhood organization or a whatever it is, right? It's not always wise to do it alone. Even God said when he was making man, it is not good for man to be alone. I want to bring him a helpmate. So the Lord desires for people to be in community and for you to have help and not have to shoulder all that on your own. However, it will be messy, but it's okay. Verse 7, go from the presence of a foolish man where you do not perceive in him the lips of knowledge. I think that this is just good advice. Perceive a fool and run. I think sometimes we feel the need to prove ourselves right or to prove someone else wrong. It is not worth the energy. When you recognize that someone or someones that you are in connection with are foolish, it is not wise to try to convince them otherwise because fools lack understanding. So it's just wasting your breath and wasting your time. But understand who you're dealing with and then make a wise decision to exit the conversation or to circle back another time. It is not wise to engage with a fool. And there's lots and lots and lots of passages here in Proverbs, and we'll get to more every chapter we go along. The difference between those that are foolish and those that are wise. So if you are curious, if you don't know who a fool is, there's plenty of job descriptions in the word that will help you decipher between who is foolish and who is wise. And we are the sum total of the people that we spend time with. So even in your friend group, right, as you begin to develop, as you get closer to the Lord, as you are personally and professionally developing yourself, learning new skills, you'll begin to identify those people that are around you that are not growing, that are stagnant, that don't desire to do more or to increase. We were created to increase. And that's kind of a principle of humanity. That is what God's design was. And so if the people that you're with are not growing, they may no longer be your people. And the Lord may be having you to transition to new people where you can continue to glean and continue to stretch and grow and become even more established in the things that he has for you. So that's another wisdom tool. Verse 11, the house of the wicked will be overthrown, but the tent of the upright will flourish. That one really struck me when you look at the difference between a house and a tent, right? A house is something, maybe it's stick built, it's probably got a cement foundation, it's got pillars, it's got harder materials, it's immovable, so to speak. Where a tent is temporary. A tent is something that is just for a season. It doesn't have the structure that a house does. But the thing that was really curious and kind of the message I feel like the Lord wanted to say when that is don't despise small beginnings. A tent is not quote unquote as good as a house. But it does keep you out of the, it does give you shelter. It does provide a safe space. It does provide warmth. I mean, I would venture to say, we've done some outreach ministry to our homeless populations, and the excitement to be able to get a tent, right, makes a world of difference between living out in the elements and being protected and having a quote unquote roof over your head. But if the house is built on wickedness, it will be overthrown, is the promise of the word. But if the tent is built by the upright, it will flourish. And so even if you're starting off small, even if it's at the beginning, or maybe if it just doesn't seem to be as profitable or as well known as maybe your competitors, it doesn't matter, because when the upright are responsible for it, it will flourish. That is a promise. So no matter where you are, if you got a little tent or a really big tent, the Lord will cause it to flourish as long as you keep him top of mind. Verse 22, we'll hop down, and actually 15 through 21, that whole passage is about good leadership. So spend some time investing in that. Number 22, do they not go astray who devise evil, but mercy and truth belong to those who devise good. What are you devising? Are you devising things that are good and impactful and beneficial to those that are around you? Or are they self-seeking? Are they self-centered? Are they taking advantage of others? If you are planning for good, planning to do good, then mercy and truth belong to you. And that is a phenomenal promise as well. Verse 23, in all labor there is profit, but idle chatter leads only to poverty. How many of you all know that people like to talk? They talk about what they're going to do. They talk about what they're planning to do and they're about to do, but they're not actually doing anything. Don't be one of those people. Be a doer, because even in the small things, even if it's not glamorous, even if it is not something that may be popular, there is wisdom in the doing. You are developing skill sets. You are developing an understanding. You are developing some resiliency, right? There's things that you can learn. I saw a meme the other day, and forgive me, I don't remember the exact quote, but it was something to the effect of, sometimes you don't get to the right turn until you make the wrong one. And the Lord is so gracious. Romans 8:28, it says it causes all things to work together. And so even the things that seem small or seem to be taking you in the wrong direction, you are still learning. You're learning how not to do that thing again. You're learning how to avoid that pitfall. So a small imperfect action is better than just talking about something and not doing anything. So I am talking to myself as well as all of you, is something, if you are a leader, in which we all are, we need to be doers, not just hearers, as the word say, doers of the word, not just hearers of the word. And I think the Lord pays attention. Do our actions line up with the words that we're saying? And if they don't, if they're incongruent, that's a problem, and that's a heart issue. Verse 29, he who is slow to wrath has great understanding, but he who is impulsive exalts folly. This is really good. We live in an emotionally charged culture right now. Every time you turn on the news, every time you scroll on social media, you have somebody giving their opinion about something. And it's usually negative, because that's what gets clicks and likes and shares, right? We have to be slow to wrath. We don't always know the truth. And so there's a scripture earlier that talked about, verse 15, the simple believes every word, but the prudent considers well his steps. You can't listen to everything, or rather you shouldn't believe everything that you hear. I remember growing up hearing, don't believe anything that you hear and only half of what you see. Oh, how true that is, especially in the world of AI. There's lots of things that we believe are right, but may in fact be not correct, or a piece of a larger puzzle. So being quick to react in your emotions, being quick to move with whatever you hear, moving with whatever you see, is not wise. You need to sit back and really hear from the Lord, to look at all of the information, to make a wise, educated decision. Because when you respond impulsively, right, it leads to folly. So even when there's conflict in your environment, don't be so quick to take a side. You need to be wise. And again, I'm reminded of that the passage that talked about when Solomon, like almost immediately after he asked the Lord for wisdom, he had a feast for his servants, and then very shortly thereafter that the two mothers came, and they were both in tears. They were both hysterical because one of their babies died, and he had to determine which one it was. Well, if you just listen to the story, you might go with your emotions. Your heartstrings may pull towards one direction, but that could be a lie. And so he was able to decipher through the wisdom of God, and he was given a kind of a witty idea to be able to discern between the two, and he chose the right one. But he didn't just go with what they were saying. He gave them a little bit of a test. So I would encourage you to keep your emotions in check, to keep your eyes open, your ears attentive, and really asking the Lord every day to give you the wisdom to judge rightly in everything that you do. Verse 31, he who oppresses the poor reproaches his maker, but he who honors him has mercy on the needy. So mercy on the needy is from a place of honoring of the Lord. That doesn't come unless you honor the Lord. You won't have that mercy on the needy like he would be expecting. But what you don't want, you do not want the reproach. You do not want to offend the Lord by treating poorly those that are in need. Even Jesus said, and there's a couple of places in the New Testament that talk about, when you took care of the widow, when you took care of the orphan, when you took care of those in need, you did it to me. So the Lord pays a lot of attention to how we treat those, how we treat the least of these is actually what it says. So those who are who are oppressed, God is a God of righteous justice. And so it's about justice for those who can't speak for themselves. So if you again are in an environment where you are building something, build something that is impactful to those in need, to the least of these, then you will receive that pleases the Lord. And so, do it because it's the right thing to do. Do it because it honors the Lord, and do it because it helps you keep things into perspective. And then the last one that I would say is verse 34. Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. Remember I said earlier, nation isn't nation as we think about it. It's a people group. So in this case, when it comes to a leader, I just think about a family is a people group. A church is a people group. A community is a people group. A business is a people group, and all the people that are within your organization. Righteousness, which in Hebrew that word also means justice. Righteousness or justice exalts, which means to elevate or to lift up nations. So as a leader, when you are operating in righteous justice, you are doing the right things, you are trying to pursue good, you are trying to honor the Lord, your people that you lead will rise. And so again, when righteous rule, the people rejoice. And so I just encourage you to dive through this a little bit more, see what else the Lord is saying to you about leadership. What does that mean to you? What sphere of influence has he given you to take leadership over or leadership in? It could be 2 people. It could be 2,500 people. It could be, millions of people. Who knows? But the Lord does. But we are all called to lead. We are all discipling somebody in some way. But are we leading people to the Lord or away from the Lord is the big question. And the way to help keep yourself on the straight and narrow is to get wisdom into your heart so that it's the way that you think. It is the way that you feel, and it is the way that you behave, because your mind has been renewed by the watering of the word. So I appreciate your time today for chapter 14. I look forward to connecting with you tomorrow as we go through chapter 15 in Proverbs. Continue to lead well. And if you need some help, the Lord is there to provide everything that you need. And there are rewards for wise stewardship and leadership over whatever the Lord brings to you. Thanks for joining. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.